Hello, I'm Dylan.
And I'm Keon.
And I'm Martin.
And I'm Jim.
And this is Trust Your Doctor, that podcast where Adric just won't die, because this week we listened to Spare Parts.
Written by Mark Platt.
Directed by Gary Russell.
And released in July 2002.
Yeah, so we're joined once again by the Krynoid podcast.
Yep. Thanks right off the bat for
coming back again.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you.
It took a little while to arrange this one, didn't it? But we got there in the end.
Yep.
Yeah. It was in scheduling hell for a bit there.
Yeah.
But we did. We figured it out.
Scheduling hell than all those other podcasts that didn't want to be part of Trust Your Doctor. Angrily shaking my fist.
We only got outright rejected once.
And that was one too many times. Just slander the people who rejected it. Okay, no, especially since they have a way better podcast than us.
Anyway, so this is a bit of a coincidence, but the very first time you guys were on with us, we did a Cyberman story, and now you're back.
And now you're back for the very last time. You'll be no. So it's all come full circle.
We'll be cyberized by the end of this podcast, so yeah, we won't be able to podcast after this.
I mean, or you'll just be super efficient at podcasting. You'll invent a new breed of Cyberman whose only job is to podcast.
Yes, we will survive and podcasts.
Yeah, so I guess we'll just start summarizing the story. I know we had difficulty coming up with an intro because, as Keon so aptly mentioned, nothing funny happened in this. It was all just kind of tragic.
Well, what's his name's acting was kind of funny. The young Frank, yeah.
Yeah, so the joke wore pretty thin fairly quickly.
It actually begins with some story-specific dudes.
Yeah, like an
exterminator.
Oh yeah, the exterminator guy.
Well,
so they're talking about going up to the surface of the planet.
Oh right, yeah, that starts with that broadcast.
That 1950s style broadcast.
Yeah, done by the the guy from the Dalek serial. Who's I don't remember the names of any Dalek or Cyberman serials. So anyway, whatever. But they're going up to the surface, supposedly. And then we cut to an exterminator and his assistant, who turns out to be his daughter.
Yeah, it's
I didn't
Mr.
know
Hartley, I think.
I didn't know anyone's name in this.
Mr. Hartley and Yvonne.
Yeah. And Hartley gets trapped under some debris or something, so.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what happens, but I got the impression that they were investigating some sort of rotted out old house and just collapsed on him, but I don't remember if that's exactly what happens.
Well, something collapses on them. They're chasing Cybermats.
Yeah, that's what he's exterminating.
Dangerous creature in the universe.
And meanwhile, the Doctor and Nyssa are landing. The Doctor's trying to play it off like it's Earth for some reason.
Yeah, still he persists with that for a while, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He just give in and admit you got it wrong.
And he and Nyssa split up. Nyssa realizes right off the bat, she's like, Earth doesn't have cities this large underground. I mean, as far as we know, so.
Those damn mole people.
So they split up immediately, I guess.
I don't think it was it intentional?
I think it was.
They go for an explore, don't they? They go in two different directions, which is, as anyone who's watched a single episode of Doctor Who knows, is a terrible idea.
And Nyssa runs into Hartley and Yvonne, and she helps out Hartley and realizes that he doesn't have a pulse. So pretty suspicious.
Twist.
Pretty suspicious, but again, they just sort of resolve it within 2 seconds.
Well, he's got like a cyber heart, I thought was the implication.
Yeah, well, no, they actually say that like a minute or two later. And I thought they would keep up the mystery for a while, even though it's pretty obvious what it is. As soon as she says, "Oh, I don't have a pulse," or as soon as she says, "Oh, you don't have a pulse."
He said, she said, the Doctor meets up with this Actually
stopped by
not
the
black.
cops.
Actually not black market organ runner. Is totally legit and above the board selling these organs.
Yeah, was that what he was? This was Dodd, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get exactly what he was, other than that he was kind of sketch. So, yeah.
Yeah, Dodd was selling actual human organs because he mentions at one point, oh, everybody wants them damn titanium and steel limbs when I have the far superior
Genuine article.
The genuine article. The original, you might say. Yeah, so he meets up with Dodd
They get
and the
stopped by the
policeman.
cops. I guess.
The cop is riding like a cyber converted or partially cyber converted horse.
Yeah. I was, I mean, when the horse neighed, I guess, I was like, is this a cyberized horse? I guess it was, because it didn't sound anything like a horse. It sort of just sounded like a machine-like thing. So I don't know. I guess that's just... It works in the plot, but it's also probably because, like, hey, we can't actually record a horse on this budget and in the studio, so, yeah, I don't know.
Do you know that a final version of this came out, a limited edition, and there's some lovely cover art on it, and it's got this sort of partially cybernized policeman on top of this cybernized horse, and it looks fantastic.
Oh, yeah, we just pulled it up right now. Wow, that's...
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
Yeah. And the original cover actually doesn't have the Doctor's face on it for once, so
Yeah.
guess they had to fix that here.
Well, I mean, how else would you know it's a Fifth Doctor story by looking at the cover, except for the massive starring Peter Davison and Sarah Sutton on the cover? I mean,
Yeah, Sarah Sutton
yeah, I was
is
actually
good, but doesn't sound as much, or it doesn't sound like she did on the show.
yeah, I was gonna ask if that was just me. It felt like she didn't sound like
herself.
She sounds a lot older, doesn't she?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, she is a lot older, so
Yeah,
it makes
certainly.
sense. But yeah, some of the companions are good at sort of either they're good at playing the companion how they used to, or their voice and I guess inflection just hasn't really changed.
Well, I think she actually put some inflection into her voice, which is why it's different to what it was at the TV show.
she actually bothered to act for
Yeah,
once.
she's actually acting in it for once. Yeah.
Unlike in Terminus, okay.
Yeah, well, it's an unwritten rule that clearly you don't have to act when you're being written out of the show in that serial.
Clearly, you don't have to act to get a part on Doctor Who.
Tom Baker.
It didn't in the 80s.
Yeah.
Positively discouraged.
I actually just listened to you guys' Twin Dilemma episode,
Oh,
so it's pretty
Sorry
interesting.
about that.
Pretty interesting how you. Well, I think this is sort of a common like sentiment. How you guys sort of went off on Colin. So I guess we're the outliers there who actually like him, but.
I mean, we've been the outliers for a consistent 3 years since we started this podcast, so...
Yeah, not much of a surprise, but hey.
Yeah. So, well, the Doctor's just drinking with Dodd.
Yeah.
They're having a nice sit-down in the organ store.
And so the setting of this is obviously Mondas, but it's sort of bleak. There's not many people around.
It's underground.
Yeah, the people are dying off left and right. I think they say there's only several thousand people left that they know of. I had the idea that this was sort of a contained city and that there might have been other cities across Mondas like this, but they didn't have much contact.
Yeah, I think the Doctor asks Dodd if there are other cities on Mondas, and he's super evasive about it, about whether there are or not.
Yeah. Later on, they ask Nissa where she's from, and she's like, "Oh, the South Sector," and it was, I guess, sort of implied that they didn't have much contact with whatever the South Sector is.
Yeah.
So yeah, Nissa and Yvonne and Hartley, well, they go back to the Hartley household, I guess, and meet Yvonne's brother,
Frank.
Frank.
Oh dear.
His acting was subpar, to put it nicely, I guess. They also meet Constant, or
Sister Man
Sister Man
Constant.
Constant.
Sorry, you were going to say
Yeah, you were
something?
going to say something.
I was just going to say about this Frank. We're talking about intonation stuff and inflection from Sarah Sutton. His inflection is exactly the same on every single line of dialogue he has. It's quite wearing after a while. Everything's like that. Oh, why did you do that? What have you come here for? It's just on and on and on. Oh, it's terrible.
I mean, I sort of, maybe I'm just giving him a pass for no reason, but I sort of got it on some scenes, where he's sort of supposed to be a whiny teenager and he's complaining to his dad that all his friends have joined up with.
Yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, there
Space Corps.
it was annoying, but it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, he's a whiny teenager, isn't it? But it never doesn't whine. And
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's a bit Adric if you think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like Adric's whole thing was all his buddies are off doing their thing, and he's just there with his badge for mathematical excellence.
Yeah, also betrays people as quickly as Adric does, so there's that.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
No, weird, actually.
Yeah, I think they've actually already brought up Adric, and I guess we should explain in what capacity. Nyssa mentions to the Doctor how she's still distraught over Adric's death and how they never talk about it and they always just sweep it under the rug, which was never really a part of the TV show, so I think.
The Doctor says, Adric who?
wish I could forget like he does.
Well, I mean, I was okay with that because I think it provided Nyssa with a reason for wanting to stay on Mondas. Like at the end of episode 1, when the Doctor finally definitively confirms that it's Mondas, and this is when the Cybermen start. Nyssa wants to stay and stop the creation of the Cybermen, and it's pretty obviously implied that that's because the Cybermen would end up killing Adric.
Yeah, I mean. It's
kind of like a prehistory revenge for Adric, isn't it? Mm-hmm. I don't think she thinks she'll ever stop the Cybermen from existing, therefore they won't be able to kill him. But it's just, I think she's kind of fighting him in his name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I guess. Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't think of that because, I mean, whenever I think of Adric's death, I just immediately go, it was your own fault. You were on the elevator or whatever it was. You just had to know if you were right. So, but yeah, that's actually interesting. Kind of makes me enjoy that plot point a little more, I guess, that Nyssa wants to stay there because of Adric, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the Doctor also makes this, he says this line like, oh, even if you stop them here, they'll rise again somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's interesting in the light of, and we can't talk about this too much because Keon won't have watched it, but the last 2 episodes of Series 10, there is a line about there's the kind of inevitability of cybernization. With various conditions take place, then cybernization is inevitable, and that kind of chimes with this, doesn't it?
Yeah, the Doctor sort of knew that too, because he wanted to leave almost immediately, and then eventually he gets caught up in some of the stuff that happens later. So
yeah, that line is actually really convenient both in this and in the Series 10 episode, because it allows, unlike every other species on the show, it allows multiple variations on the Cyberman story to exist in parallel with each other.
Yeah.
Which I also think is interesting because then you can explore, I mean, if cybernization is always going to take place, you can explore how different cultures and societies always lead to this point, regardless of kind of what's happening in the society and culture.
Yeah.
And obviously, the reason why they're being cyberized in this is pretty similar to World Enough in Time, but is also pretty different in other aspects. So
yeah.
There's the AI side to this as well, isn't there? Really, with the at some point the artificial side of the cyber brains obviously takes over and stops listening to What's the character's name? The doctor, the Doctor Man.
Dr.
Dr.
Manallen.
Manallen.
Yeah.
Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
Eventually. Well, so the Doctor, I think, gets away from Dot. I don't remember how. I think because he told Nyssa he was going to meet her back at the TARDIS, so he goes back to the TARDIS and he meets Nyssa there, but not before the Doctor goes to the church and rings the bell.
Yeah.
This is the Doctor's super lame attempt at trying to satisfy Nyssa's desires to change the course of history.
Meanwhile, Sisterman Constant has reported Nyssa because she meets Nyssa and doesn't recognize her, and Nyssa sort of has a sketchy backstory that she just comes up with on the spot, so she calls the cops.
As all good citizens should.
Yeah.
And the cops
Show up. Surprisingly.
Amazing. In a Doctor Who story, the cops actually show up for once.
Is that a running thing that they don't show? I mean, it's kind of true in real life. It's like, I mean, at least around here, it's like, yeah.
The cops around here have nothing better to do except give you speeding tickets.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Seem kind of bitter. Yeah, and Frank, Hartley and Yvonne want to keep Nyssa in hiding, but Frank is like, no, she's in the back room. And
she must die.
They initially think that it's Yvonne, and then Frank's like, no, that's my sister, and yeah.
Like, ooh, awkward. Selling out your own sister. So Nyssa makes a break for it, and so she accidentally takes Yvonne's pet Cybermat with her to the TARDIS, and
Yvonne gives it to her, doesn't she? For some bizarre reason.
Yeah, I think Nyssa says she can fix it.
Yeah, doesn't Yvonne?
That's it. Yeah.
Yvonne also has a pet, half cyberized parrot or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't we all?
Mine's completely cyberized now.
So
it's cheaper than birdseed.
Six ball bearings.
Ball bearings aren't cheap. I feel like that might have been a downgrade.
One a year. It's very slow to digest.
Oh, okay.
But this recycles them.
Yeah, there's a small pot underneath the parrot that collects them.
Anyway, we may be digressing.
We may be, but we'll never know.
So, I mean, I'm interested. I don't know what happens in the new series, obviously, but I'd be interested to see some cyberized animals on the new series because they're in this, and obviously it's a lot easier to do that in an audio.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see a cyberized horse or parrot or something else. Bear, shark.
We got the cyber shades to look forward to. Not quite sure what they are. They're sort of monkey things, maybe.
Okay.
From the Next Doctor. I almost forgot about that.
Yeah. But that's a long time in your future, Kieran.
Yeah, I think the Next Doctor.
And don't look forward to it, whatever you do.
I definitely look forward to the Next Doctor. I have some critical information on it when we get there.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't think we've ever seen explicitly cyberized animals besides those monkey-like things.
The mats. So I mean,
the cyber mats, but are they like cyberized worms? Or
I guess.
Cyberized rats.
Cyberized
mats.
And this they sound. I don't know. Tomb of the Cyberman is just.
Tomb of the Cyberman is difficult to fit into the Cyberman continuity. Cyberman continuity is very difficult to define anyway.
Yeah, I was going to say it's difficult to tell what they are based on Tomb and Wheel in Space, but there's that too. So they meet up back at the TARDIS.
And then Nyssa reveals she brought the Cyberman into the TARDIS, and the Doctor's like, you did what?
Say what now? And they're not, the Doctor and Nyssa aren't in the console room, and when they get back to the console room, it's like infested with mats. So that's how part one ends, I think.
Yeah, the Cybermat's like eaten into the energy core.
Yeah.
Poor little Cybermat just wants to be fed.
Yeah, but I mean, you feed one of them, you know.
Like stray dogs, you feed one of them and then you got 20.
Weirdly enough, the intro and outro theme were not in their own part in this, because we listen to this on Spotify, and usually on Spotify, the intro and outro have their own like
Track,
but in this they're not, and for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
not that interesting, but
they haven't got the correct music either, have they? For the
No.
no,
Well,
this must be
no.
or
well, this is
they
pre
couldn't.
Bang Bang a Boom.
Yeah,
Because that was the first one where they actually, I think that was the first one, right? Yeah, that was the first one they actually used the era-specific music, because Big Finish was half broke when they started, so...
Yeah, they didn't have enough money to buy the rights for all the appropriate ones. So
Yeah, so...
I mean,
it works fine.
I mean, now that we're talking, I mean, rights are such a complicated topic, but
Disney!
now that we're talking about it again, you'd think that the BBC would just let them use the correct theme music, because, I mean, they probably want to put out a product that people would be more likely to buy, and being more accurate to the era would probably get diehard fans to be more into it, so I don't know. Then again, most people probably don't really care, so...
I don't think you really understand the BBC. they have got no idea about marketing or making money or anything like that.
Yeah, that much is evident by the massive spoiler they put in the trailers for the most recent season.
All modern trailers have spoilers.
But not to this extent. Not to this extent.
Let's give away all the key points, all the key surprises that are going to happen.
Yeah, but also, on the other hand, like, if the theme music is the make or break thing on whether or not you're going to buy this, then I don't know what to say to you.
When I first bought this, I just took it straight back when it didn't have the correct theme. I got to the end of part one, I thought, nope, I'm not having this.
You frisbeed it out the window.
I'm not having any of this false news.
Does Big Finish's website allow you to return or anything like that when you download? I have no idea.
I don't think so.
Great. I've only downloaded like 2 audios from them, so yeah.
I've never actually tried to return anything on their website, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they don't have a giant return button, but I mean, you could probably get your money back if you emailed someone and complained enough
about the theme music.
Fix the bloody theme music.
So part 2 begins with...
so they the Cybermat just gets destroyed by the energy overload.
Oh, is that how they fix it?
Yeah, he gets overloaded by the TARDIS energy.
All right. Yeah, doing that classic series thing where they resolve the cliffhanger right away. Then again, it's the cliffhanger for this is Cybermats and infesting the TARDIS, so I don't know how exactly they could draw it out, but yeah.
3 weeks from now, the Doctor's just ruffling through his closet and finds a Cybermat. Like, what the hell?
I wouldn't be surprised. In the book that I'm reading right now, which is what we're doing for the 8th Doctor, I'm not going to say what it is because apparently we consider that a spoiler for some reason for our schedule.
That was all on you, by the way. You were like, maybe we shouldn't tell the audience.
Yeah, well, one of the companions he goes into the TARDIS library and finds, like, someone who's been in there for decades. Yeah.
What?
I hope there's a toilet.
Apparently they were in some kind of suspended animations. Yeah, I don't
This
know.
is worse. Why is the Doctor just keeping a dude in his library?
Yeah, why does he keep him in the library and not the dungeon?
That's the book gimp.
Well, so anyway, back to the story at hand.
I think we're introduced to Dr. Allen at this point. It cuts away to the facility or whatever it is.
Yeah, well, so she's talking about how the processing is seems to be only temporary because of organ rejection.
This is an interesting. Sorry to butt in. This is an interesting piece of casting. This because this is Sally Nivette, who was one of the key cast members of Blake 7. which was the kind of, not exactly the sister company, sister program for this, but it was a contemporary sci-fi BBC effort.
Yeah, we're planning on doing.
Everybody tells us to do a Blake 7 podcast. All six fans.
You might like it. Actually, on the subject of casting, this is a particular interest to Keon here. Thomas Dodd is played by Darren Nesbitt, who was Tigana.
Huh. Wow.
Nice. Tigana coming back.
Yeah. Interesting, I guess.
Knew they'd bring him back eventually. He was just too good to let go. Yeah, that actually is interesting. Although it does kind of reinforce that belief that Britain has like 10 actors that they just rotate in and out of everything. So, anyway. Yeah, Dr. Manallen talks about how the cyberization is working well, except for that whole organ failure thing. And
yeah,
the committee is like, hey, you should probably figure that out.
Yeah, I think she's talking to Sisterman Constant, and she brings up this enigmatic committee.
What do you think of these, Sister Man, Doctor Man things? To me, it just seems like very strange.
It seems a bit silly and forced. I guess it's sort of a nice ideological thing for like the Cyberman name.
Yeah, Cyberman.
It seems a bit forced.
Yeah, it does.
It is forced. It doesn't work. I mean, cyber is not a job, whereas
I mean,
a doctor is like a religious sister sort of thing. It just seems a bit stupid to me.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mark Platt.
I mean, Mark Platt's not known for his
writing ability. I'm just kidding.
Simple plot lines. No, but it might be an attempt to show how Mondaz's like language deviated from Earth's when Mondaz got thrown out of the solar system.
Still have Earth names like Frank and Yvonne, and still have Earth traditions like the pseudo or Christmas type thing that they were apparently holding.
I mean, yeah.
So that was actually more the thing that was more weird to me is that they had like Earth names when Mondas had split away from Earth probably thousands of years ago.
At the same time, you've got Zheng, haven't you?
Yeah.
Which doesn't seem to fit in with the other sort of naming in this.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if in the 10th planet they ever mentioned how long it's been since Mondaz got flung out of the solar system.
I don't think it's specific, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I don't remember. That was a long time ago for us.
It was.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly. Although I do remember 10th Planet taking place in 1986, I think it was.
Sometime during the 80s.
Yes. Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And I guess since we're on the topic, there are a few things that this story does that are pretty interesting. Like, Mondas was never visible from Earth and vice versa because of the sun. I don't know how realistic that would be, that you'd never see it, but that's in this. They also try and write off the crappy 10th Planet Cybermen costumes by, I guess, officially canonizing the masks as cloth. Yeah, that's what they were all along. They weren't supposed to be metal, no.
Hey, well...
Well, again, there's a lot more on that at the end of Series 10, isn't there?
Oh,
yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, well...
Well, they brought back the original designs, so...
Well, but... I think actually... I think it gives the 10th Planet a real boost, and the whole idea of what looks a slightly shonky costume makes a lot more sense once you see those two episodes. So it's something to look forward to.
Yeah,
but no, I think it really works once you see the kind of step-by-step process that it takes to get to that version of a Cyberman.
Well, I mean, I've always just considered all the Cyberman costumes to be like different representations of the same thing constrained by budget. So, like, they looked kind of wonky, but I never faulted them for how terrible it looked in the 10th Planet.
No, the low budget and crappy costuming was always a
Staple of the
entertaining
show. Oh.
staple of Doctor. I'm actually not being sarcastic. I really did enjoy the styrofoam avalanches and stuff like that. So
I've always really liked the look of the 10th Planet Cybermen, actually. I think they're really eerie and scary looking. Although, when you look at it very closely, it's not put together particularly well. But the idea of it is quite horrific. And they've still got real hands and things like that. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
They're very weird. They're very weird looking, aren't they? Quite sort of spooky looking. But that issue about the budget is true, because the lady who designed the 10th Planet Cyberman, when she got to the moon base, that was what she wanted to do in the first place, but they didn't have the funds to do it. But I think what we had there is excellent, and even more so after the end of Series 10.
I agree.
Yeah, I definitely think with the higher budget in Series 10, you can definitely feel the creepy vibe coming off of them a lot more, because you're not so distracted by the fact that the costumes are falling apart.
I mean, one thing I always really loved about the 10th Planet Cybermen is their voices. And they never brought those voices back until now, until this. So, I mean, I guess I'll wait until Series 10 to see what they...
Yeah, they did. They brought back the voices as well.
Yeah. But I was disappointed throughout the entire classic series that they never brought back the original Cybermen voices. But...
That's because the Tomb of the Cybermen voices are the best, and you're just wrong.
Actually, that's not the case. So what happens in part 2?
Oh, well, Frank shows up at the TARDIS and is helping Nyssa repair the TARDIS, and then just Cybermats are swarming the outside of the TARDIS because they're surveilling Nyssa, quote unquote, although more like intimidating her.
I don't think Nyssa ever finds out that Frank tried to sell her out.
Probably for the better.
Yeah.
I feel like if she found out all the times Adra tried to sell them out, she'd not be as willing to sit around on Mondas.
Yeah, she'd be encouraging the Cyberman development, I think.
The Doctor, meanwhile, is...
I think he goes and tries to infiltrate the...
Well, no, he meets up with Dodd again, and Dodd locks him in the freezer.
Yeah.
And then the Cyberman shows up, and Dodd's like, oh, the Doctor left, and the Cyberman opens the freezer and is like, this is the Doctor. And then the Doctor goes to infiltrate the palace while he runs away.
Yeah. So apparently this is actually a palace and not just a factory or something. So I don't know what their government is, but it's a palace, so...
I mean, the committee is the
government, but I guess they have a palace, so...
Well, it's kind of strange. It's a bit like there's echoes of the Russian Revolution here, aren't there? Because I think they talk about the sort of order that there used to be there before. And, this committee is very much a sort of, it seems like a communist thing, doesn't it? I mean, the Daleks appear very fascist, whereas the Cybermen are more like the Soviets, aren't they? Right. This kind of state-run world, and the committee or the cyber planet decides on how everything is done. And, you see that how it defines how resources are used and food rationing, all that kind of stuff. So you get the feeling that they're kind of occupying the palace that perhaps the royalty would have had before whatever revolution happened.
Yeah,
it's
that's
actually
interesting.
An interesting comparison that I don't think I've ever thought of before about the Cyberman being, I guess, almost a critique of communism. Maybe not intentional at the start, but
probably not. Yeah.
But it is interesting to think about because, you're right. There's always a cyber planner who decides how things are done, and all the Cybermen act in unison for the forward advancement of the Cyberman species, I guess, if you can call it that. So Nyssa ends up going with Frank back to Mr. Hartley because she ate the food, and Frank was all upset that she ate the rations. So she's like, well, I'll just bring you more food because we have an unlimited supply in the TARDIS, because that TARDIS food machine that only showed up in the first Doctor's era and was never mentioned again.
Well, they got loads of pineapples in there from the 5 Doctors. Maybe they should ship a load of those out of the TARDIS.
I feel like those might be going bad by now.
It'll be fine.
Maybe.
The Doctor's just ruffling through his closet and he finds a pineapple. But she goes and she finds out Yvonne has been called to join the force, the space cadets.
Yeah, that Frank wants to join.
The whatever they are. They go to the surface of the planet.
Frank is like, Dad, let me join.
Dad's like, you're too young, Frank. And you sound too much like a Cyberman already, you whiny little bastard.
I never loved you, Frank. No.
Jesus.
You're adopted, no?
Well, there's that terrible clunky line, isn't there, about Yvonne being Dad's favourite.
Oh, yeah.
It's just kind of thrust in there, to give an idea of what the family dynamic is like, which it doesn't fit at all.
Yeah, well, when you listen to Frank speak, I wonder why Yvonne is the favourite. I mean...
So she's called away, and I think Hartley is already suspicious of the recruiting process. As I think most people are, actually, because, surprise, people who were recruited are actually cyberized.
Yeah, but they don't know this yet. They think...
They're suspicious of it, I think.
Well, because now, this is when there's like a... I think it's now or it's in part 3, there's a TV transmission like, meet the new people going up to the surface, and it's a Cyberman, but the ad is like playing it off like they're wearing suits, and this is like, those aren't suits, those are Cybermen. And Hartley's like, what are Cybermen?
Yeah. So they don't know of the existence of the Cybermen, I guess, but yeah. Meanwhile, I think the Doctor has infiltrated the palace.
Rather poorly, I might add, since he gets immediately captured.
Well, wasn't it mostly Dodd's fault, if I'm remembering correctly? I can't believe... This is the one time I'll stick up for the Doctor, but... yeah, I don't exactly remember.
Well, Dodd's with him. Dodd's like, screw this, and leaves.
Screw you guys, I'm going home. Okay.
I'm gonna go hole up in my bunker with all my organs. Live forever.
He can. I mean, he
runs out never go hungry.
Yeah, exactly. And it turns out at some point that the committee is actually just.
It's Hydra from Marvel. It's Hydra.
I imagined it. It was described in like such a way that I imagined it as just a cobbled together cyber mess.
Well, the Doctor says it's got 12 heads.
Yeah. I imagine
12
them as
actual human heads connected to, like, cyber machinery.
Yeah, I imagine them as dragon heads. I mean, even though I think they said human head or humanoid heads. But, yeah, I typically just disregard the descriptions and imagine it however I want. So, no one can stop me.
That's the power of audio.
Yeah, I imagine it as a rather terrifying, just 12 disembodied heads connected to massive long wires, all plugged into a machine, so that was horrifying.
Well, it says they've got sort of atrophying bodies dangling off them as well, so that's even worse when you think about it.
Or even better if you, no.
if you're into that kind of thing.
You like that?
Yeah, I don't imagine the room smells very fragrant.
That's the real problem the Cybermen have to solve. The smell of the decaying bodies inside the cyber shells.
It's a real problem with audio is that you can't transmit smell over audio. Really, really hard to get immersed when you can't... No.
Did you not get these specials scratch and sniff spare parts?
I think that was only in the limited edition.
Scratch the committee patch now. Have a bucket nearby.
That's going to have to be a hard pass for me.
Well, you notice the Cybermen are never designed to have noses. Yeah, this is not an accident.
How do they smell?
Terrible.
I'm amazed the Doctor doesn't just encounter the Cyberman for the first time and just be like, okay, just hang on, I just have to vomit over here for a second.
Where's that peg I keep in my pocket?
Oh no. Can you imagine what the Daleks smell like? Oh god. The Dalek sewer from Series 9. Oh no.
Oh dear. Nasty.
Shudder. Anyway, the doctor's talking with Dr. Man Allen, like, this is kind of messed up, And she's like, we must survive. The doctor's like, yeah, it's still kind of messed up.
They have sort of a philosophical discussion, whatever. A lot of it kind of heavy-handed, and yeah.
When has Doctor Who ever been light-handed with its philosophical discussions?
When it doesn't bring them up, I guess. But yeah, I can see where she's coming from. Dr. Manallen is the one who apparently started the cyberization process and had the idea, I guess. It seems to be just her working with the committee. It's not really any other scientists or anyone here, so...
I think Sister Man Constance is helping out, kind of.
Yeah, and...
She's running, the recruitment program, I think.
I mean, maybe... I don't know what happened to the other people who developed the cyberization process, but maybe if there were more minds around, it wouldn't have gone so haywire, but I don't know. Or maybe it's just inevitable, as the Doctor and everyone else seems to know, so...
It does feel pretty light on cast, this, doesn't it? It's probably because it's one of the early ones and they didn't have the money for more people. But, you would think there would be other people involved in the process.
I mean, I think it kind of works, though, because, Dr. Man Allen and the committee, they all mention that there's not a lot of people left in the city, and they're
exactly.
running out of time to save what's left of the city. So having, I think, a sparse cast, actually adds to that atmosphere. There's not a lot of people in the city because the Doctor only runs into, 3 people, and normally, in a regular serial, he run into, a solid 15.
Yeah,
and a lot of the stuff outside is during curfew, isn't it? So there shouldn't be a lot of people out, so...
And also, the philosophical discussion, I think it's supposed to be... I think... the point of the discussion is that technically they're both right. The Doctor's like, oh yeah, this is really inhumane and everything, but Dr. Man Allen's like, well, this is the only way we can save our species. We're about to be destroyed by this massive, space anomaly that's going to tear the planet apart.
Yeah.
So
at the same time, it felt kind of melodramatic, as did the scene with Yvonne later, yeah.
Yeah, but Yvonne was just tragic.
Yeah,
Yvonne's whole character arc
they played up the
really
melodrama way too much, in my opinion.
Too much. I think it's a brilliant scene, that one. That's possibly my favourite scene in this.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it too.
When she comes home.
But it's okay because Keon doesn't like emotions. So.
Yeah, just cyber.
I know
Keon's...
we might want to recruit you.
Keon's like, first in line, sign me up, please.
Get rid of these pesky emotions, such as they are.
So Nis is with the family, and then I think the generators are out, so the Doctor is with Dr. Man Allen trying to fix the generators. We skipped the cliffhanger to part 2, but it wasn't that important, so...
I don't even remember what it was.
Neither do I.
Classic Doctor Who
having a really throwaway cliffhanger at the end of episode 2.
Yeah, at the end of most episodes, but hey.
And this is when we see the new class of cyber recruits, I guess, and the power went off during processing, so the processing didn't finish, which is why Yvonne is still kind of Yvonne.
Yeah. She's, I think, wandering around the city in a daze, kind of.
Saying some really sad and depressing things like, my dad must see my uniform, and
yeah.
So excited. Except in a way more cyberized and depressing voice.
So I think she eventually makes it back to her house.
Yeah.
Which is where Nyssa, Hartley, and Frank are.
Yeah.
And she dies in her father's arms.
Well, she kind of goes crazy at first when she, I think she sees what she looks like or something like that, or they tell her and she kind of goes crazy. Also probably because she's in immense pain. And then she dies, in her father's arms.
Yeah, sort of just, sadly mumbling some incoherent stuff about whether or not they're proud of her and stuff like that.
Yeah, I really liked that scene. This was the first time I've actually felt actually horrified at what the Cybermen are doing.
Yeah, I don't know. Just the acting in it felt melodramatic to me, at least. But I don't know.
I think this is what this story is about. This scene, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For me, that's the point of this whole story, and I think it works. I agree with you, Jim, and in that respect, that it's for me the strongest scene in the story.
Mm-hmm.
It's pivotal. I mean, this is the tragedy of Mondas, isn't it? Really, that all these kind of factors have led to this. People losing their humanity. Normally you just see someone disappear. Next time you see them as a Cyberman, but this is kind of interim, sort of interrupted process. You get to see the humanity that's still sort of clinging in there inside.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's excellent stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, it's one of the first times I've actually felt horrified at what the Cybermen do. Like, the only time the show has ever really played that up, besides
Genesis
Series
of the Daleks.
10. Genesis of the Daleks. But also for the Cybermen, the only time I can remember it was either Age of Steel or it was Doomsday. One of them, you hear the woman scream as she gets taken in to be cyber processed, and you hear her scream as these machines are rattling, cyber processing her. That was pretty terrifying.
Yeah, well, I guess to sort of go against what I said before and to maybe defend this scene a little bit, I guess it would, like, if I go back and for the future Cyberman stories, and if I ever go back and watch any of the other ones, it'll sort of make you think, like, all right, they're not just villains of the week like they were here. You sort of know their backstory, their origin. Yeah.
There's a human underneath all that cloth.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, Cybermen stories work much better when they do play up that angle, don't they? Because the whole idea is the horror factor, the body horror, and when they start ignoring that and just treating them like troops, then they're far less interesting. Yeah,
robot troops. Yeah, it's when you see individual ones and the humanity there. Yeah, you're right. It's much more effective, I think.
Yeah, because there's nothing really to differentiate them from all the other villains except that point. Like, that's their unique selling point about them, is
exactly
the fact that they take away humanity to build their numbers, and it's a painful and traumatic process.
And that Mondas is not replica, but is
like a mirror version.
Of Earth, which they really never did anything with until this story. So I liked that, obviously.
Yeah.
And that might also even play into the whole cyberization is inevitable, almost maybe hinting at the fact that in the far future, even on Earth...
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's supposed to be like, happening to them, and they're exactly like us, so it's going to happen to us too. And they do say, like, Mondas is thousands of years ahead of Earth in terms of its technology, so they're like, oh, shoot, that's our future too.
Yeah, so the doctor's helping fix the generator because he's like, well, I have to fix this generator if I want to survive, because this is going to power the rockets to move the planet out of the way of generic space anomaly.
Yeah. I don't think we mentioned, but they're trying to avoid some sort of catastrophic thing that the planet is heading into.
Yeah, and only Cybermen can survive on the surface of the planet and build the rocket boosters, which is why they've been cyber converting everyone. And I think this is also the point in the story where the committee goes, the city is using too much power, cyber convert everyone.
Yeah. And there are only a few trees in the city, or just a little plant life. I think they actually mentioned this already. And at the end of the story, they chop it all down finally, so that part's kind of sad. It's like the few trees they have left, and
it's like the Lorax almost.
Yeah. But who spoke for the trees?
The good thing about this plot thread is the fact that it does tie it back into 10th Planet again, doesn't it? And gives it a reason why the planet is coming back. And why it's in such, why they're all in such trouble as well.
Yeah.
So it does kind of all pull it all together, I think. And like I say, it's a bit generic, and you don't really know exactly what it is that's causing all these, everything to go haywire. But at least it's there, and it's given a reason.
Right. And I think it actually works really well as a 10th Planet prequel.
Yeah, I mean, plus I'd rather them explore, like, Mondas' society and, like, the genesis of the Cybermen rather than, like, what disaster of the week are they facing now? What? Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna call this Genesis of the Cybermen. Cash in on
They
super
make a
popular
reference to that
Genesis
and
of
see if he's dead.
Yeah.
Spare Parts is a good title, and they
It is
title
actually.
drop it later on.
Yeah, so I think the doctor says that everything's being made with spare parts.
Yeah, they're all
around
just
here.
spare parts.
But yeah, so the doctor fixes the generators, and but they've started cyber converting everyone, including Sister Man Constance. She's like, "Wait, but I run the program," and they're like, "But everyone is being cyber converted now." And she's like, "Okay."
Have we seen
damn.
Zhang yet?
Yeah, I think it's because he comes in now to take her away.
Yeah.
He's like, "I'm taking control."
He's like a cyber commander type person.
I'm taking control. Yeah, Zhang, and that scene right at the end when he comes back and the very final scene of the audio.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I just realized your Cyberman voice actually just made me realize this. The committee has a different voice than the other Cybermen, so I'm thinking, and it sounds more similar to the non-10th planet Cybermen. So,
Well, it's the Cyber Plano voice, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
From Invasion, is it?
I think it's in
Yeah, there's it's in another one as well, isn't it?
I think it's in Wheel of Space as well.
Yes.
I'm not sure they're exactly the same, but it's that voice. I think it's really effective.
yeah.
Well, it's sometimes difficult to understand it in this,
Yes, it is.
but if you kind of concentrate on it, I really do like it, actually. It's got that kind of feel that the Emperor Dalek has in Evil of the Daleks about it, if you know what I mean. Sort of kind of booming effect.
Authority.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, and I also kind of feel like it's because they're on audio, so there's no real way to visually differentiate them, so they kind of have to make the voice sound a little bit different, but I do think it works. And I also think, it might partially be because the committee was the first to be fully cyberized, basically. I mean, people had been getting cyber mods until that point, but the committee was the first, so...
Well, that's a great line here, isn't it? I think the best line in it when Sheng kind of takes over operations, and Sister Man Alan's saying, "Oh, but I created you," and he says, "You should be proud while you still have capacity."
Yes,
brilliant.
And kind of terrifying because you actually do kind of hear Sister Man Constance go through the machine. She gets tied to the conveyor, and she's like, take this off, and then she's like screaming as she goes into the machine, so that was kind of disconcerting too. Yeah, the doctor's like, what the hell is going on here? But he gets shocked by the generator and passes out, and Dr. Manallen's like, well, he's definitely has to be dead now. And then
not gonna confirm.
Well, she ties him to like a bed, and he wakes up and he's like, not dead. And she's like, wow, that's you're the key to fixing the Cyberman.
Yeah, because they're apparently going to use the doctor's body scan or something to do something. Yeah, he's got like an extra heart.
Yes, but also like an extra organ at the base of his brain, I think she says, that like controls that controls all of his organs separately. So Dr. Man Allen thinks if she makes a cyber duplicate of this organ for the Cyberman, they'll stop organ rejecting. And it works, by the way. It works. Once again, another plot thread that I actually really like, the idea that the Doctor staying and trying to help these people actually makes the Cyberman more powerful.
Yeah,
unintentionally.
Unwittingly, yeah.
It's also one of those things where it's like the Doctor has, in every major event that happens in Doctor Who, is like somehow related to the Doctor. He's never just sort of a participant. He's always, the driving force behind it. And then they usually come back to it after the fact, and like they did here. And then like, haha, actually the Doctor helped create the Cybermen, so those
maybe
are
the Time Lords. Maybe the Time Lords were right in the War Games. They should have sentenced him to death or whatever they were going to do.
Yeah, maybe they have a point with that whole non-interference policy.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because we've always, there's almost that slight sort of disconnect, isn't it? Where the Doctor can, do what he likes on other planets, but the history of Earth is sacrosanct, and you can't change it, not one line. But here we've got the history of Mondas, and he's thinking, well, I can't really get involved in this because it's not my business. This is it's almost like one of those fixed points in time that they talk about in New Who.
The Doctor seems overly fond of.
Yeah, so you've got the kind of mixture of a historical and a futuristic off-Earth story at the same time. This is quite an interesting mix.
Right, and I've always thought it would be interesting, because like you mentioned, the only historicals we've ever seen on Earth, I always thought it would be interesting if we saw like an almost a pure historical set in like another society on another planet where the Doctor just watches these events unfold and is just like an unwitting spectator almost.
So like Massacre, but in space.
So like Massacre, except the Doctor actually shows up and is actually interesting and it's actually good.
So not like Massacre at all then.
Yes. Exactly. Which also kind of ties into the point I made 2 weeks ago when this goes out on the podcast. That personally I always think Doctor Who is always more interesting when it's breaking its own mold.
I always think it's more interesting when I'm not watching it. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Kind of, but
that's because you only think about it when you're not watching.
If you're not watching, it doesn't actually exist.
Oh God. We're getting too deep.
If you play an episode of Doctor Who and no one's watching it, does it make it sound... Okay, no.
The episode of Doctor Who...
Does it still have a cheating cliffhanger?
Let's say the episode has been erased from the BBC archives. Did it ever exist at all? No, but yeah, like you said, this is not a common premise for a Doctor Who story. And the Doctor's at some point trying to stop the Cybermen from being created, but he's going about it like really half-heartedly because he's like, well, it's going to happen eventually. I'm just going to please Nyssa, really. But he wants to know what's going on and how exactly it came to be.
Yeah, the nearest parallel is Genesis of the Daleks, isn't it? Where it's gone back to the history of another, of a planet that spawns a terrible evil. It's very close to that, but again, that was at the time was unique, I think.
Right.
And this doesn't really have, since you bring up the comparison, this doesn't really have the sort of the Davros figure.
No.
Which, I mean, it might work since the Cybermen really aren't supposed to... Because Davros was sort of this evil guy, so he created the Daleks, who were this evil race, I guess.
The space Nazis.
Whereas the Cybermen, it's sort of more tragic, like from their standpoint, where it's like they were just like us, but then this happened to them, so...
Well, that might...
Yeah, so Davros is the Hitler figure, isn't he? Yeah. Whereas this committee is, I don't know, Politburo or whatever equivalent of Soviet history, if we're drawing that parallel. So, it's not as effective as having a single person that you can converse with in the way that Tom Baker's Doctor does with Davros. But I guess in that story that, the committee is the equivalent.
Yeah, and that's actually exactly what I was going to mention, was that I think we've talked about before how the Cybermen don't have a single person for the Doctor to bounce ideological ideas off of. Like Davros, like every time Davros comes back, there's always the Doctor and Davros having, even if it's only 2 lines, some sort of ideological conflict, and the Cybermen don't have that, which is kind of why I think both the committee and even Dr. Man Allen exist in this. Just like Keon said earlier, a lot of the philosophical discussion happens between the Doctor and Dr. Man Allen.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
I think that's the kind of difference, isn't it, between the Daleks and the Cybermen, in that, the Cybermen act on logic, whereas the Daleks kind of act on hate, don't they?
Yes.
Yes. And then there's the Void. I don't know if you listened to our Domain of the Void episode, but Andrew Smith came up with this whole history for the Void, and it's revealed that the Void are very similar to the Cybermen, and that the Void actually turn people into Void, but the difference is, and the interesting difference is, if the Void are going to turn you into a Void, you have to want to become a Void.
Or you just die.
Or you die.
Yeah.
In the process. Right. And And I think that's also interesting because, the Void and the Cybermen have different motives. The Void are trying to convert everyone because they think that's the way to
Peace.
galactic peace, whereas the Cybermen just act on cold logic and think, Cybermen are the best.
Well, Marinus gets a mention at the end of Series 10 as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, because of that comic, The World Shapers, where the Void
Yes.
get turned into the Cyberman, and Jamie dies.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that actually also interestingly plays into that whole Void make other people Void thing.
Bring back the Void.
Yeah, they should
work.
bring back the Void.
Yeah. So
maybe they can actually make the costumes not look like diving suits with crappy helmets.
You got to have the flippers, though. It would be the same without the flippers.
That's true.
Yeah. They've got to trip over something.
Yeah. So
you should do a comedy episode with the, slapstick board in it.
Yeah, they should make an episode that starts off as a comedy with these really slapstick Void, but then halfway through it's revealed that the Void have actually taken over the planet and ruined everything. You could make it a two-parter. The first part could be really slapstick,
with a laugh track.
Yeah, the cliffhanger could be the Void have taken over everything, and the Doctor's like, "Well, I really underestimated the Void." Then episode 2 can be him trying to undo what the Void did.
I would watch comedic episodes or a comedic spin-off with almost any Doctor Who villain, even without some sort of weird twist where they make it tragic. Yeah, I'd watch a Cyberman sitcom.
Yeah.
Honey, where are my cyber pants? Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I just said men behaving logically. There's a men behaving badly as a sitcom over here.
The one emotional Cyberman. You could have the premise could be you have all the different Cybermen from throughout the history of Doctor Who living in a house together. They're just arguing over their differences.
TV gold.
We're just brilliant.
Write it before someone else does.
I mean, we've already saved Doctor Who on this show, so...
Yeah, our master plan to save Doctor Who is to cast The Rock as the Doctor and get Smash Mouth to do the theme.
What could possibly fail?
Nothing, it's brilliant, it's foolproof. Anyway, I think Nyssa makes her way to the palace because she's like, well, if there's one place the Doctor's going to be, it's going to be in the middle of the problem. And she's not wrong. She actually finds the Doctor there. Well, she doesn't find him initially because Dr. Man Allen's like, well, the Doctor's...
I can't believe we didn't bring that up yet. Unfortunately, they didn't do it at all in this.
They didn't really have an opportunity.
They could have put it in somewhere.
Would have felt really out of place.
They could. What's her face? Yvonne could have done it after she got cyberized. Nyssa. Okay, I don't know.
Oh no!
Oh, how poignant!
Just ruin the moment.
Should have been a laugh track in that scene. Okay, no.
100 ways to ruin Doctor Who. Anyway, Dr. Man Allen's like, yeah, the Doctor's dead. And then the Cyberman walks in and is like, Nyssa? And she's like, Doctor, no! And then it's like, I'm actually Dodd.
Yeah, I don't know why they jumped to the conclusion that this is the Doctor, but I don't know. Yeah.
Well, the previous scene, it looks like the Doctor's about to be cyberized, doesn't it?
There is that scene.
It's a bit of a cheat, really.
Yeah, it's more of a cheat for the audience.
Good one, I think.
It's quite a good one, but he just appears, in a minute and doesn't say anything about it, really. It's
a bit of a cheat for the audience more than Nyssa, really.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Doctor walks in and is like, nope, I'm totally fine, and we gotta activate those rockets. Gotta get ourselves out of the space anomaly.
Yep.
And
gosh. Kind of forget what happens next.
Because, the ending is a little hazy for me.
The Doctor confronts Zhang at some point. I don't know if that's exactly right now, but it's near the end.
There's this thing about the wine, isn't there? Which I wasn't really clear as exactly what was going on with that, to be honest.
Oh, that's right.
I think Alan just wanted to hole up and drink herself to death and not deal with the cyberization. Wasn't that what it was?
Yeah.
But then the Doctor starts pouring it somewhere.
I think he like pours it into the nutrients for the Cyberman or something like that, and they're like, "Oh no, we cannot be drunk."
I really thought they were going to introduce where the gold weakness comes from. There is that funny scene where the Doctor pulls out gold and he's like, "Wait, it's not working."
Yeah.
That's a story for another time.
Yeah.
I wonder if there is a story that explains why they're weak to gold.
Probably not, because I feel like that's something that shouldn't really be explained, because it's just kind of a funny thing they have, they're weak to gold.
Yeah,
Well, I think
guess.
there's a line about it. It's like the ultimate non-corrodable metal or something. It plates their breathing apparatus or something, but it's it's a bit kind of hand wavy, really.
Yeah, and there's I think Zhang thinks the Doctor's trying to poison them or something.
Well, he is.
Well, yeah.
He's not wrong.
He's just trying to cheer them up.
Get a little bubble.
Get the party started.
Was he really trying to poison them, or was he just like, well, I don't know what else to do, so let's see if this works?
I mean, what's the difference?
They're trying to stop the committee, aren't they, I think?
Yeah.
The committee gets kind of intoxicated, doesn't it? And they can't think straight.
That's right, yeah.
And they kind of blow up or whatever, and the Doctor needs to escape.
Yeah. What was weird to me is that at the end of this, I really thought from the beginning that, well, it's going to end with everyone in the city getting cyberized, or everyone on the planet getting cyberized, but it actually doesn't. Which was kind of weird to me, but I guess it makes it even more bleak that, like, well, it's going to happen eventually to them, and we just leave them as humans, but we know that they're going to be Cybermen in time, so...
Yeah, it's kind of like
that's right. Yeah. They will. Yeah, they're kind of just fodder for the Cyberman process. You know, one crisis is averted, and you're steering them away from was it Cherry Bowl Nebula? Is it they're trying to avoid?
Yeah.
But of course, at the end, we find out that this has only delayed things, hasn't it? Again, it's like Genesis of the Daleks; only delayed them. But they will continue, and those people will all be converted, which is pretty horrible to think about.
I mean, once again, it's one of those stories where the Doctor doesn't really win in the end, like Genesis. And those stories are good in moderation. I mean, I wouldn't want every week the Doctor not to win, but it's good to have a story every once in a while that shows the Doctor is a fallible character who doesn't always succeed.
Well, he can't win in either of these stories, can he? Because we know that both races go on, so...
I mean, he could have won in this because cyberization is inevitable.
Yeah, well, if they'd made more at that point, then I guess, you could have had him win and it's still happening, yeah.
But, I mean, him winning wouldn't have jived with the rest of the story. The rest of the story was super bleak, so I think having a bleak ending was necessary, almost.
Yeah, so how it ends, should probably explain it, is, the Doctor and Nyssa sort of converse with Frank and Hartley. Mm-hmm. Hartley and Frank are just like, well, we'll do the best with what we can.
Because supposedly all the Cybermen have been destroyed, or the Doctor thinks so.
Yeah.
But then they leave, and then like the stinger at the end is General Zhang is alive, and he comes up to Dr. Van Allen. He's like, "So we begin again, Dr. Van Allen."
Yep.
That's a great ending.
Yeah.
It is a really good ending. I almost feel like it should have been after the credits. Like, you think, oh yeah, they've blown up the Cybermen, and then the credits roll, and then it's nope. Actually, turns out they're still going.
Just as a giant middle finger for everyone who doesn't listen to credits. would really validate my choice to listen to every intro and credits of Doctor Who intently. I think I've calculated that I've wasted like 4 hours just on Doctor Who credits and intros. But yeah.
Well, not wasted, surely.
Debatable.
Soon you'll be able to hum it without listening.
Sure, we reached that point 2 weeks into the podcast.
Yeah. I mean, it is actually a very catchy song. Like, I don't think it was like Disney levels of intentional that they were trying to make it the most catchy song possible, but
personally, I think the middle eight is more catchy than the rest of the song.
Yeah, that's true.
the middle eight that keeps getting cut out of the goddamn reboot credit sequences. Really salty about that.
Even more reason why we should become showrunners on Doctor Who, because we would just fix it. We would fix it.
Someone send a letter to the BBC.
Keep repeating the middle eight and then
just keep doing everything wrong until nobody remembers a time when it was right.
Sorry, J&T, is that you?
Anyway, I liked this story. I don't think I liked it as much as you did, Dylan, but...
I mean, I definitely think of the ones we've listened to for this run so far, it's my favorite.
Nah, Valley of Death was way up there.
Like I said, Valley of Death was just a generic unit story at the end.
I mean, I guess I didn't really care for the characters too much. Again, I thought it was kind of melodramatic and overly dramatic. That's the same thing, but yeah. I guess maybe my expectations were too high going into Cyberman origin story. And Genesis of the Daleks is my second favorite Doctor Who story ever. So maybe that sort of made my expectations higher too. So I don't know.
That's after the Armageddon factor, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. Universally accepted as the absolute peak of Doctor
Who. Moving on. I think this is good. I don't think it's as good as its reputation suggests, because most people rave about this. I think it's got some great ideas in it, and I like the idea of it more than I do actually listening to it. Actually, I think it's slightly too long and drawn out in places.
Yeah, I'd agree.
But I think it's got some good moments, definitely, and I think it all revolves around the cybernizing of Yvonne. That scene. But yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah,
I mean, it does have some execution problems, I guess. Because as we were describing, it's what happened in part 2? What happened in part 3? So.
A lot of big finishes for me. I don't listen to a huge amount of them, but things tend to. The longer a story goes on, the less clear what's happening. It's something that recurs when I listen to Big Finish, and that happens. I have to listen quite carefully at the end to work out exactly what's going on, because it's a lot of sort of sound production and sound design going on. To raise the levels of excitement and stuff, but sometimes dialogue gets a little lost and not exactly sure without the visuals exactly what is happening, and I found that on this one, as with many others.
I normally zone out in part 3 and then I'm confused of what's going on in part 4.
Yeah, I get that.
Tends to be what happens to me when I listen to them. But I think the ending is garbled here, after quite a good build up, but then it's a bit rushed, the ending of this, I think.
Yeah.
It does almost feel like that's kind of the norm for Big Finish, the ending being a bit unclear, because I think that's something we've mentioned quite often over the past couple weeks. Because a lot of the times the ending is like on the show, the Doctor runs around and does something clever, which is rather difficult to portray when you only have the sounds of what he's doing.
Ghost in the Machine was a big offender for that. It's you just ended in 1 minute. Just kind of what happened here, actually. It was the timestamp showed 5 minutes left, and it's have we gotten to the climax of this yet? What's happening?
And there's a little epilogue at the end as well, isn't it? So that the actual denouement is very quick in this.
Yeah. And I agree with you guys. I think the reputation of the story does precede it a little bit. And I don't think it's the best Big Finish audio ever recorded.
I can't think of a better one personally. I really like this.
I can.
What are your favourites?
Master is definitely up there for me. Master and
it's good.
Echoes of Grey. I really liked Echoes of Grey when we did that. Over a year ago now, actually.
Yeah. A year and a half ago almost.
Yeah.
I liked Valley of Death, which is what we listened to last week, but it's probably not too popular of an opinion, nor too popular of a story.
Well, the great thing about Big Finish is that any opinion we make is practically new because there's barely any podcasts that cover these things.
True.
There are blogs that cover them. Sometimes,
yeah.
But who reads blogs, right?
Who reads blogs? Blogs are a dying medium.
They're a scourge on society. Wipe them out. Okay, no. Kind of are a dying thing.
I do think
actually.
this is one of the best Cyberman stories, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of having trouble thinking of one I'd put over this. Yeah, this might be the best one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just gonna go ahead and say that it is for now.
For now.
Well, the Series 10 final two-parter, it kind of works in parallel to this.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything in it which contradicts what's here. It just happens, without giving too much away, it happens on a spaceship. Is it returning to Mondes or coming away from it? It's returning to Mondes.
It's returning to Mondes, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so kind of the cyber development's been happening in parallel, I guess. So they do work. They do just about work together, these two stories. But in terms of favourite Cybermen stories at the moment, I mean, I know it's very recent, but I think the Series 10 finale does exactly what I wanted a Cyberman story to do. Mm-hmm. Which is that kind of genesis of a Cyberman as this is, but it's on TV and it's a different experience.
Yeah,
and I'm going to agree with you there. I think that's probably up there for me too. I rather enjoyed Age of Steel and Rise of the Cybermen when I saw it quite a number of years ago now, actually. I also put out a Twitter poll for people to choose their favorite Cyberman origin, and some masochist put Age of Steel, Rise of the Cybermen, so that's an uncommon opinion. I think quite a few people don't like that story.
Well, that's based on this, and in fact,
Right.
Mark Platt gets a writing credit on it, doesn't he? Mm-hmm. Which oddly he doesn't get in the latest story in Series 10, which you'd think he would, because very strong elements carried through from this to the TV.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it definitely feels like the newer one was developed kind of with this story as a starting point, and then they had other things they wanted to like add in, with the Doctor and his companion and other villain that we won't spoil in there. So they kind of worked from this and added in all those other things, and I think it worked rather well.
Probably Omega, right?
No, it's the monk.
I was just thinking of
Tigana, surely.
Bring back the monk. If Chris Chibnall doesn't bring back
Frank
the
turns
monk.
out to be the Rani in it, doesn't he? That's the biggest turn up.
well,
If Chris Chibnall doesn't bring back the monk, I'm quitting this show.
Actually, it's Drax from the Armageddon.
Everyone's favourite character.
Great.
the one guy who liked Drax. Yeah.
What other renegade Time Lord could it be? It's Asmael from Twin Dilemma. Everyone's favorite renegade Time Lord.
Well, as long as he leaves the twins at home, that's all right.
The twins. Twins were the weakest part of that story. I think we agreed with you on that aspect, at least.
Yeah.
I don't think that we agreed with that, did we?
They're the Frank of Twin Dilemma.
In amongst many weak parts, it's a bit hard to rank them.
Yeah, I didn't look into the production of this too much. Spotify actually didn't have any extras to it, even though they sometimes do.
I think in the earlier days they didn't record a lot of extras. A lot of times they'll have like interviews with the people in the
Yeah, but this one
thing.
didn't. Which, I mean, I sort of half-heartedly listen to them most of the time, but I would have probably fully listened to any behind-the-scenes things for this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because this is
An interesting,
how this came about would be an interesting kind of thing to.
And I mean, this story's kind of a big deal, like in the Doctor Who universe itself, and in like this universe, I guess.
The real universe.
Yeah.
The one and the same if you consider Feast of Stephen canon. Yeah.
Which no one does.
If
Well,
it
no one's
doesn't
in the right
exist,
mind.
if it doesn't exist, is it canon?
If a tree falls in the forest, does it count? Okay, no.
Is it canon? I've always been unclear on whether a lot of these stories are like
Good.
You're not wrong. On whether or not if these come about by the producer going to a writer and saying, "Hey, can you write a story about the Cyberman?" and then them going, "Yeah, I can write a story about the Cyberman," or if it's like, Mark Platt has this idea that he wants to do and he takes it to Big Finish, and I'd imagine it's probably a combination.
Yeah, it's a mix of both. Like the Vord getting more backstory. That was just them
that was all
forcing.
Andrew Smith.
Yeah, exactly.
I was just looking at Wiki for this. It says on there that Platt was reluctant to write a Cyberman story because he felt the plausibility as a convincing villain had declined. But then when he thought about it, writing an origin story would be going back to basics. But
Yeah,
so he liked that idea. Yeah.
I think he's right about that, just based on some of the stuff we've talked about. Like, when you just bring them back as villains of the week, then, right, they're not going to exactly be memorable or anything, so...
Silver Nemesis.
Well, it'd be interesting to have an extra interviewing Mark Platt about this, because, I mean, I tend not to listen to the extras on Big Finish, because normally actors telling each other how wonderful they are.
Yeah.
We've noticed that. Well, I've noticed that.
Yeah, so there's not a lot of merit in them, really, not much to be gained. But I think talking to the writers is normally more interesting, and I'd like to hear a bit more about what Mark Platt was thinking.
Yeah.
And some of the companion chronicles have interviews where, David Richardson, the producer's talking with the writer about the story and how they came up with it, and those are usually really interesting because they all get inspiration from different places.
Yeah, I like learning more about the setting, mainly from the extras, like how they based Quinnis on Namibia or whatever, because whoever wrote that took a trip there. So, I mean, that's probably the most you'd be able to glean about that. But yeah, I do agree. It's just like, good job. Yeah, you were great too. Like, yeah. So
I mean, except for that time Gene Marsh threw heavy shade at Peter Purvis. Peter Purvis was like, I didn't really understand the story till I came in and read it today. And Gene Marsh was like, well, that would explain your acting. And I was like, whoa, well, that's pretty harsh.
She was the one who spent 5 minutes explaining how multi-layered and deep that story was when...
It's also true. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah,
I'm kind of out of things to say about the story, but I did really enjoy it, and I think it's deep and multi-layered, to quote Gene Marsh of Doctor Who fame.
Yeah, I think it's a good one. Definitely.
Yeah, thumbs up from me, I guess.
We don't give ratings on this show. I know you guys like to give ratings on your show, but you don't have to on this show. You can free yourselves from the shackles of numerism.
And relax.
I was sweating there.
I like Mostly Made Up Doctor Who episode guides rating system. They rate on a companion scale from Dodo to the Brig.
That's excellent. Dodo at the bottom. Poor Dodo.
Oh, really?
Is there someone you'd put below Dodo?
Adric for me, absolutely.
You're not allowed to put Adric below Dodo.
Katerina?
Okay, that's fair.
Mel.
Ooh, that's something we might disagree on. Rather handily. Well, I think we liked the concept of Mel.
Yeah, and the concept of... Well, maybe not the concept of Perry. Maybe the concept of Perry.
Yeah, well, both of their characters degraded rather rapidly. Perry especially so.
Yeah.
Although Mel got the better deal in the end because she got to go off with Sabalon Glitz.
And she got to eat that giant cookie.
Also true.
Glitz and a cookie she got out of her journeys with the Doctor.
Yeah, you know what? If I had escaped death for 40 adventures in a row and I went off with Glitz, I'd just be okay with that. I'd just be like, this is my life now.
I feel sorry for Glitz, to be honest.
Yeah, Blitz will be fine. You'll probably just shoot her if she gets too annoying.
Once he's ejected her from the ship, he'll be all right.
Well, they're flying around on that asteroid now. Jeez. Doctor Who. Anyway.
What is it anyway? No.
Yeah.
Doctor Who. What even is it? No.
We don't know, as evidenced by the fact that we want to cast The Rock as the Doctor, but, you know, that's besides the point. Yeah, so if you guys want to plug your show, where we can find the illustrious Krynoid podcast.
Well, we're on iTunes. Krynoid is Krynoid. So look up Krynoid Podcasts on iTunes. We're on Facebook. Facebook.com. Yeah, easy for me to say. Facebook.com/Krynoid Podcasts, and we're on Twitter as Krynoid Podcast as well. We don't discuss your Twitter anymore, do we, Martin?
I don't know. I never listened to it. You might do.
Well, it's the most moribund Twitter account there is.
Can't be worse than the Trust Your Doctor Twitter.
No, I see output from Trust Your Doctor.
I haven't logged onto mine for about a year, so
Okay.
You got
it's got a life of its own.
You got 1 million likes all racked up there for you to enjoy.
Yeah,
I should just
Martin,
attach a bot to it and see if that can.
see if anyone
someone.
notices.
Why not?
Yeah, while you were gone, your Twitter just blew up. Everybody's tweeting about Krynoid Martin.
I see it trending every week.
Yeah, so we have an email to read, which we'll hit to in just 1 second. But first, I want to say thank you to you guys for joining us
Thanks for having us.
on the story. And I also want to thank you for joining the 4th Doctor retrospective, because the schedule/plan we made for that episode has been the one we've used for every retrospective since. And we wouldn't have a plan if you guys hadn't joined us for that episode, so...
Well, I'm not quite sure what we did, but we're glad to have been of service.
You existed.
We'll take all the credit for it.
Yes. You should do that.
We're happy with that.
Yeah, so we'll read this 1-sentence email. It's hello. When will you be getting to New Who? Sincerely, Thomas. Okay, Thomas.
Whenever we get there, Thomas, you anxious person. No.
No more emails ever after that.
No.
I believe our first New Who episode, which is our episode on Rose, will go out on the 27th of August.
Wow, we're almost there.
Because we have this, and then we have 3 more. We have 6, 7, and 8th Doctor stories, and then we're doing... Oh, God.
A couple things.
Oh, God, this is a mistake, but we're doing Dimensions in Time and the Curse of Fatal Death. And then we're doing Rose, so...
But yeah, actually, Thomas, thanks for asking, because I don't think we ever put a date on when we were going to start the reboot, and probably some people don't want to listen to us talk about audios, so we probably should have mentioned it
Maybe.
Months ago, but yeah.
We'll tweet about it.
Yeah.
But August 27th. We're almost there.
A few more weeks. I just can't wait till there's actually on-screen material again.
The final episode that's going out in 2017 is The Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit, which means the first 2 episodes of 2018 are Love and Monsters and Fear Her, which are garbage. So
Get the year off with a bang.
yeah, starting 2018 off real good. Anyway, you can send us an email at thedoctor@decorativevegetable.com. Questions, comments, concerns, angry rants, love letters, if you'd like to join Thomas as one of the 6 people who have sent us an email ever.
Check us on Facebook, Trust Your Doctor, like us on Facebook. Also check us out on Twitter at TYD Podcast, and follow us on Twitter. And next time, we're listening to the Holy Terror. But until then, the end.